Hello, 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 everyone. Oh my goodness. This is the video that you want to write down. You want to write down notes. So grab a journal, grab your phones, and pause this right now and then replay it when you're ready because I'm going to share with you my, I call them truths, my 7 truths that I let experience happen, and then I always come back to these 7 truths. And I these are things that I guess you can say you probably, if you've ever picked up a spiritual book in your life, a self-help book, really any sort of text that talks about that you are a co-creator of this life. You probably have read some of these truths, so it's not like I'm making them up. However, I'm going to give you examples from my life and to really kind of let you understand a little bit deeper because I've read these truths many, many, many times, but it's one thing to read it and kind of be a spectator, and then it's another to actually apply it to your life. And what have I always said? Experience is our greatest teacher. So go out and experiment with your life, be fearless, right? So this is what I'm going to share with you. I also want to say, I don't know if you can hear, I have a little bit of a cold. Since being back from India, I got sick actually. You don't need to take notes about this. I got sick. I on the train ride from Varanasi to Agra, I ate the food, which I mean, it's not a huge deal, but it was the day before I was leaving, and something in that food just did not agree with me, and I was completely sick right after I visited the Taj Mahal super early in the morning. So thankfully, I was able to get some good pictures, and then I rushed back home, and I was sick for a good 4 or 5 hours. So this is what was interesting is when I left to come back to Paris, I just still have been feeling off like this whole time. Maybe up until just a few days ago, I even decided that maybe I should go to a doctor. Maybe it's something like a parasite. You just never know. But I'm actually feeling much better today. I woke up and I was dancing again. I was like, I've been able to eat, and so it just took a long time. It took over 2 weeks for me to feel back to normal. And now all of a sudden I have this cold. But now I feel like it's going away. Here's what's important: my energy, my spirit feels like myself again. Like I feel like myself again. And this is exciting. So, this is why I am sharing my 7 truths. 7 is a lucky number, um, that I always come back to, that have completely been my compass on this whole crazy journey of living in surrender for the past 3.5 years. We are going on 2 years of living without a permanent home. I gave my notice in April of 2024, and we're coming up into April next month. And then, of course, May is when I left my apartment. Whew. Okay, here we go. Number 1: abundance is my true nature. I have heard this a million times. And I was like, really? Is it really my true nature? Why do I feel like I always have to work for it? Right. So, okay, abundance is my true nature. I don't have to do anything to receive love, to receive money, opportunity, friends, food, a place to sleep, luck. Abundance always flows through me. Abundance is always flowing. And, abundance means so much more than just money. This is a lesson that I learned very hardcore because I think we're so used to and conditioned to think that abundance equals money. And how can you possibly feel abundant when you don't have money? And I learned that the universe was showing me. So, this is why it's important. I talked about in the last video, which you should check out, I talked about how there are 4 journal questions that I now do every morning. And this is also very important, is that your morning routines and your rituals and your journal prompts and all these things, they're going to change and evolve as you change and evolve. So just putting it out there, you don't have to stay doing one thing for the rest of your life, right? So one of my questions is, what is being mirrored back to me? And I'll give you the other 3 just in case you want to do them. What is being mirrored back to me? What is dissolving within me? What is opening within me? And what am I curious about? These are great questions, just like every morning you can do them. So, what is being mirrored back to me when I was going through my most challenging um, time, when I literally felt like I just could never quite keep money. Money just kept slipping through my fingers. And I was trying to really trust that money would come through because, I had experienced so many times money would like come and then it would run out or I would spend it. And I felt like the universe, I'm like, please show me what you're trying to teach me because I didn't get it. And then instantly I had this abundance of understanding, like, oh, I'm getting all of these kind of free places to stay. Like a bunch of my friends, two of my friends went away and they offered me their apartment to stay in. I had a bunch of invitations. It was right around the Olympics time, a bunch of invitations to go watch the Olympic Games, that I didn't have to pay to watch, so it was all free. Like, I just realized, like, oh my God, I keep focusing on this one channel, which is abundance means money, when the universe was showing me, look at how we're sending you all this abundance, but you are so fixated and looking at what you don't have. And you need to kind of shift your energy on what you do have, because, again, another truth is where we put our energy is where things will grow. So once I got that lesson, then everything shifted. So many things shifted. I got a client right away. I also realized that energy likes to flow. So I was gripping and holding on to certain things. Like, I can't give up this, scheduling. I was paying like $20 a month to keep my appointment scheduler, even though like I wasn't getting any appointments or any bookings. I kept this money just kept like dripping out of my account. And I was like, I need this money to eat. So as soon as I was like, what if I just got rid of it? Because I realized I was holding on to it out of fear. And the fear was, no, I need to prove to the universe that I trust that I will receive bookings. It's like, no, like what you've got to take now into consideration. And now means I actually can use this $20 to eat. So I'm going to let this go, and I'll pay for it down the line when I have more abundance flowing. And the second I did that, so much started to flow through. I also got rid of a savings account that I was paying $8 a month, that barely anything was in it. And I was like, I need this $8. So, people talk about this, that money and really everything likes to flow. And I didn't realize I was gripping and holding on to something out of fear. So once I let it all go, that's when real money started to kind of flow in. So abundance is my true nature. And this whole idea of, um, I don't have to do anything, I don't have to create anything, I don't have to share anything, I don't have to do anything to receive abundance. It is my true nature. It is our true nature. That's something that I also had to learn. Gosh, I'm thinking about this as I'm talking, which is that I can just do a whole video around how I learned this lesson, um, which I might do. I might do two parts. Okay, we're gonna split this up because these lessons are so, like, it's so big, and I really want to give you the full nuanced life examples, to really kind of hone it and get it home. Because one of the things, so when I went to India, I specifically said, I don't want to work, I don't want to take bookings, I don't want to do anything. I just want to exist. I just want to show up and tell me what time I need to be at the yoga class, tell me what time I need to meditate. Just, I don't want to think. I spent the past few years where all I did was have this like constant thing in the back of my mind, which is like, where am I going to stay next? What am I going to do? How am I going to pay for this? All of that, like, worry. And it was just an undercurrent. And so when I went to India, I was like, I just want to exist. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to think. And so one of the things that I really wanted to welcome in was boredom. I wanted to welcome in this like fear. Well, what came up was, you can't just do nothing. There is no way you can spend your life and just do all the things you want to do and have fun. Like, who do you think you are? You can't just enjoy yourself on a day to day basis. Like, no way. I wanted to welcome that voice. I wanted all the years of conditioning that tells us that we have to go out and work for our money, work for our abundance, work for our wealth. You'll see YouTube video after YouTube video talking about this stuff, right? And my question in all this, or I want to say this little voice inside of me always would say, or always would ask, but what if you can? What if you really, it can be that easy? So, my whole journey into surrender is that no matter what, I'm always supported. Either money flows through or some sort of like support, abundance, whatever, in whatever form, um, I'll always be taken care of as long as I am living in accordance to my highest truth, meaning I'm not taking action out of fear, out of worry, out of stress, out of anxiety, out of separation, out of wanting to prove something. I am only being led out of pure desire or passion, inspiration, curiosity, overflow. Like, when I came back from India, I felt this huge desire to want to share all of this because I felt so filled up. That's what I'm talking about. So it's coming from a different state of being, right? What if I just lived in this way? Like, what's possible, you know? So that's when I really understood, yes, I can absolutely just live and enjoy myself and come from this space of I create only when I'm inspired and when I feel passionate and all these things, etc. Right? And what I've learned is I've gotten 4 or 5 random checks in the mail, money just coming to me. I had big, huge checks recently, money just dropping in, quote unquote, not doing anything. Everything that I have experienced so far in terms of how money comes in has all come to me because I have learned to lean back and trust in the natural flow of life. And I know abundance is my true nature. So I don't have to go out and chase it. I don't have to also feel envious or jealous of someone else if they have it because I trust that it always comes through to me in the exact right time because I've lived and had enough experience of that being true. Does that make sense? Okay, so here we go. Number 2, everything is here for me. Everything is here for me. Can you say that with me? Everything is here for me. So that means everything. That means even and especially all the negative, all the shitty things, all the contrast, all the things that, throw you off your game, all the rude people, all the things that piss you off. Everything is here for you. Everything. Okay? And this leads me to the third truth, which accept exactly what is happening right now. So fully accept this moment right now. When something doesn't go our way, we immediately want to push it out of our experience. We want to get rid of it, and this includes uncomfortable emotions, right? We're so good at kind of numbing out, pushing them down, eating our feelings, shopping our feelings, um, I don't know, overspending, oversharing, whatever. We do all kinds of stuff, not even consciously, to avoid feeling uncomfortable because we don't like it. And because everything is energy, what's actually being asked of us is to fully accept without trying to change anything. So, what does full acceptance mean? It means I accept this moment as it is, even and especially when I don't like it. I'll never forget, I was doing a retreat. The last retreat I did, which, if you don't know, I am a certified yoga teacher. I taught for over 12 years, and I've done a million different retreats from all over the world. The last retreat I did was in the south of France, and it was more than just yoga retreat. I wanted to give more, so I added a couple. It was like a transformational retreat. We did a couple of different workshops around understanding how to hear your soul's voice, your true voice, also one on manifestation and co-creation. And so I will never forget, this woman said to me, sorry, this woman said to me, one of the participants, she's like, this other woman is ruining my experience here. And I said, this other woman that you're having an issue with is part of your experience here. We think that because, oh, she's rubbing me the wrong way and you're ruining my good, you're ruining me having a good, peaceful time. It's like, no, this is a transformational retreat where people are going to rub you the wrong way and you use it because everything is here for me and because I accept fully this moment. The change is never is another truth. The change is never going to be about somebody else or a circumstance. It has to come from within. 100%. We cannot change this person. What you can change is your reaction to this person and sort of understanding why you're being triggered. That's the invitation. That's what's being offered. And so many of us miss that opportunity because we avoid. We're like, I don't want to be around this person anymore, so I'm going to avoid this person. And therefore, the whole experience, let's say, let's just say I wasn't the teacher that I am. And I was like, you're absolutely right. We're going to have a confrontation about the two of you because I don't want this person to rub you the wrong way. So I want you two to hash it out. I mean, I guess that's one approach, but for me, I was like, no, this is for you. This is for you and for me, by the way, because it's rare of all the retreats that I've done that I've ever been. Yeah, I've had really no issues in terms of that with other people. Everybody's really kind of gotten along or they handled it on their own. So basically what happened was is we did a session together and she realized, yes, it is here for her. And thus the experience changed because of it for the better. So the solution is never going to be outside of you, even though we think so. It's always going to be an internal shift that you make, and that's the invitation and that's the work. Okay, so everything, full acceptance of what is happening right now. Oh, I'm going to give you an example, which I might have talked about, but it's worth talking about again because the further I get away from experience, the more insight I have about it. So it helps me to share it again. Sorry, and not everybody's heard it, which is when I was first going on this journey, because there's so much emphasis was around money and I wasn't going to do anything to try to get money. I was just going to lean back and allow the natural flow of abundance to come to me, right? So one of my first times doing a cat sit was during the Olympic Games 2 summers ago. And I show up, and it was a miracle how I show up. And I remember I didn't have any money. I had maybe like 50 cents left after all the transportation to get to this place, which was about an hour outside of Paris. And I was like, okay, if I don't have money to eat, well, then I'm just going to fast because everything is here for me and I accept this moment as it is. It was not about me asking for help because I understood and I made this pact, which was that help is always available to us. We just have to align our vibration to receive that help. So all I heard was, then I should fast. I'd always been curious about fasting. And so I go online and I YouTube, how to do a water fast, kind of in a healthy way. And so I'm getting excited because I'm reading all the positive benefits and I'm like, oh, this is going to be amazing. I'm going to give this an intention. Yeah, I'm going to starve off the part of me that's addicted to separation, lack, and scarcity. And, so I'm all excited, right? And I told two of my friends, of course, because all of this was new and I just wanted to give them a heads up. And one of my friends got back to me and she's like, listen, I really admire and respect the journey that you're on. But as your friend, if you need me to send you $25, I would be happy to, just to help you get through this little rough patch. But I respect your journey and your path, so you let me know. And I remember hearing that and I thought, no, I don't I don't need your $25. No, 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 no. The universe has it. The universe is going to pay me in some big way, and it's going to be a surprise. And I can't wait. I'm so excited, right? So after 24 hours of doing this fast, I start to feel really sick and I end up throwing up. And you have to understand, like, part of the process of fasting is your body now has the energy and the time that it normally would take to digest food. Now it's going to start to heal. So it has to detox. So I had been eating horribly up until this point. I was just eating my feelings. I was stressed. I was new to all this. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't tell my family. I just told my two friends. And I was like, so I was just eating whatever was cheap, tons of bread, tons of carbs. So my body was like detoxing all of this crap. So this is why I'm saying this. This whole experience was for me because it changed my whole relationship with food. So, anyways, once I started to throw up and get sick, I was like, oh my God, no, I need to take her money. And so I texted her, please send me the money. I need to stop this fasting. And so she sent me the money. The next day, I went to the store and I got all the proper foods to introduce back into your system. I'm really a good student, so I was very careful about this stuff. And I'll never forget the day after that. I felt amazing. It was almost like somebody pressed a reset button on my body, and I was like, wow. And then I started to really understand, oh, this is here for me because I had been stuffing my face instead of feeling. I wasn't feeling how scared I was, how much anxiety I had. I just was eating all my feelings. So then I started to really pause and go, okay, this is an opportunity to shift my whole relationship with food. And I started to really buy foods that weren't that expensive. I would like buy carrots and then I would um, steam the carrots and the vegetables and I would buy hummus and like it was really delicious. I was eating a lot healthier. I ended up dropping some pounds and I've kept it up this whole time. And so I say this because and also the other big point was I didn't understand at that point that I had a huge expectation that the universe was going to pay me in some big way because I thought, here I am, I'm fasting, I'm doing this, universe. Yeah, you're going to send me all kinds of money, whatever. And I didn't realize that the universe was helping me by sending me my friend and having her offer me this money. Like, I didn't get it. I was equating big and small, and that's all judgment. That's not how the universe works. There's no such thing as big and small. It's just here. Like, here's a solution. Here you go. So it was a beautiful lesson and one that I still sometimes get caught up in missing. And I'll talk about that maybe in the part two. Um, okay, so changed my relationship with food, changed how I receive. I stopped having these expectations ish, right? Okay, so the other one is negative thoughts, feelings, emotions don't hurt me. They don't hurt me. Now, this is really, this is a good one I'm going to share. Um, let's see if I can put it. During my journey, the things that would come up that I started to be aware of were these stories, past stories, programming to get me to react, to stay in separation, and to stay in fear. And I started to recognize it was the same story. Like, why am I fighting, for instance, with this person every single time I wake up in the morning? Like, why is my mind just wanting to fight? And it's because, well, I told you that change is incredibly, incredibly threatening to our whole system. And it is an ego death. So the ego fears this and knows this. And so it's going to keep throwing story after story after story, knowing that the deeper we go, like we're talking like old childhood stuff, the more you're going to get worked up. So I was so aware of this that for a while I started to, sometimes you can't help it, especially when you first wake up, you get caught into it because you're still kind of like half asleep. And then I would just be like, okay, remind me when this story comes up so that I know to come right out of it or to become aware of it or to become separate from it. So I started to get good. You know, you ask and you can command your own body, your own soul to do these things. So at one point last November, I hadn't had this one story come up in a long time. And all of a sudden, I was in deep fear around something. And there was just a lot going on, having to pay for sublets. I had just told my family the truth. I felt extra stressed and I didn't know what I was going to do about my visa. So all these things were coming up. So then, boom, this story comes up again. And as soon as this story came up, I was like, this story actually doesn't hurt me. And that was the first time I had that thought where I was like, what if I just let this story play out, knowing it's actually not hurting me? Because in the past, either I would just automatically engage in the story, or and I would engage and then get mad at myself for engaging in the story and then wonder why does this story keep coming up. So I'm just, whatever you want to say, I'm entangled in the story again, and again and again. And then finally I hear, this story actually doesn't hurt me. These thoughts don't hurt me. And once I started to make that distinction, and I talked about this before, but it's again worth mentioning, I started to practice and experiment in my life. Okay, what if I have doubt around X, Y, and Z? But I realize the doubt doesn't hurt me, and also doesn't hurt this possibility to actually come through. So I was allowing both. I was saying, okay, doubt, okay, fear, okay, anxiety, you can exist. And also, new possibility, positive expectation can also exist because I am the awareness that holds all of it. So it was powerful, and I started to see immediate results. And that's when I was like, okay, we're on to something. And then that's when I started to apply it to the skin rashes, which I talk about in the last video, which I have healed because I allowed the negative contrast to show up and know that it was already healed. And I was like, wow, this is powerful, powerful stuff. So powerful. So powerful. So negative thoughts, feelings, stories, programs don't actually hurt me. They really are just here for me to be seen, to allow, and then to move through. Because another thing I will say is like, when you start to live this way, all of the stuff that's in contrast that now that's been illuminated, right? So whenever you illuminate the positive, you're also illuminating all the negative that's been like in the dark your whole life. So all of it's kind of bubbling up. So really it's just wanting to an opportunity to bubble up and to move. And if you allow it, it will move. But we stop that allowance by thinking it's bad or it's hurting us in some way. So I can't think that thought. I can't engage. Then we get mad. And then the mind just goes into this freaking rabbit hole of we're bad, we're wrong. I mean, it's crazy how much the mind berates and makes us wrong and punishes us, you know? And so the first step is to be aware. And then the second and third and fourth step is to ask to continue to be aware. And then when you're in something, acknowledge it and go, okay, you can exist. I'm not going to do anything with you. I'm just going to let you play out, and I'm going to keep letting you play out. And eventually, gone, gone. It happens so much now. It's really freaking cool. Okay, 5, do nothing. Do nothing. Do nothing. I've said this a million times before. We are so conditioned as these little identities that we have to go out and do, and we got to make something happen, and we got to change this and do, it takes hard work, and that hard work means your 10,000 hours of what? Do. We are these doing beings. And I'm saying do nothing. Often the solution is in doing nothing. I spoke about this But I never shared this part of the story. Credit cards. During my journey of surrender, what kept showing up is I could no longer pay my credit cards. So here I was, this good girl, all of a sudden getting all these emails like "hello," and they're so animated with these with these emails with all the red and the exclamation points. I mean, I remember viscerally feeling this gut punch every time I would receive an email from these credit cards telling me that I was past due and my credit score is going down, and I was like spiraling. And then last year, um, it was interesting because I discovered that I got sued by one of the credit cards, and of course, at this point though, I'm already almost a year into living without a home. I was starting to be like, my first instinct around being sued was like, well, first of all, I can't pay because I don't have the money. Like, this is the issue. If I had the money, I would pay you, right? And secondly, I forgot to mention this. I had looked into bankruptcy. This is before I even gave up my apartment. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. Bankruptcy. Yes. And I called all these different lawyers, and half of them said they can get me off. Half of them said they couldn't because I live here. And it was complicated. It was complicated, right? And also, that bankruptcy costs $2,000. And I'm like, I don't have $2,000. If I had this money, I would pay the damn credit cards, right? It's crazy. That's the paradox of life. So, this is what's interesting. Had I maybe filed for bankruptcy, what I realize now is that it wouldn't have done anything but changed something in the 3D reality to make me feel better. The truth is, not filing for bankruptcy and allowing that uncomfortable feeling to live and exist in me for over 2 years actually was the answer. Because as I mentioned, the shame of the credit cards and not being able to pay dissolved. I would have never been able to experience that if I just, okay, now I can file for bankruptcy. Yes, I'm done with that. And I'm not trying to say don't do that. I'm just trying to say for me, that wasn't the highest solution. The highest solution was just do nothing, because what I was moving through was, I'm a bad person. I don't deserve grace. I should be put in jail. How dare I not pay these credit cards? I hated the feeling of owing and not being able to pay. I mean, and eventually it got to a place where I was able to give myself grace and go, I couldn't pay it. It's okay. And so this is what was interesting. So once I realized I was being sued, I was like, oh God, what do I do? And I heard do nothing. And then but then I still kind of was inquiring, like, what does this mean if I do nothing? And I had read that they can possibly take future monies out. And I was like, okay, that's fine. Like, I don't have it now anyway. And this is what was interesting. Because I had done the previous fast, I was like, I'm going to do another fast because I know that if I let go of eating, or I can really come to like a higher truth. So I did a 3-day fast, but I did it the right way, and I felt amazing. And the first thing I remember hearing was just like, you're fine, do nothing, it all works out, it all works out. And I was like, and that's when, right after the fast, that's when I went to go pick up my visa, my residence card, and they gave me an extra year for nothing. And then I was like, oh, really, it's all taken care of. So this is what's interesting. 8 months go by, I do nothing. And my friend, who I had changed my credit card, the address to her place, I like trusted her. She sent me something in the mail that they dropped the lawsuit. And I was like, do nothing, do nothing, do nothing. So there you go. Do absolutely nothing. Um, and the final one, I guess we're going to get it all in. The final one is everything happens in divine time. I cannot stress this enough, that there is a beautiful orchestration, the way things move through from tests, from synchronicities, from just all of it. And I only know this now, having been in it for the past 3 years, that how grateful I am that I didn't file for bankruptcy so that I can move through what was the most uncomfortable feeling, which is that I'm a bad person, that I don't deserve grace, I don't deserve love, I don't deserve another chance, right? To move through that and to flip on the other side and be so comfortable now sharing this because I didn't go for the outside solution, right? Even the fast, of going, no, I'm not going to take this money, and then getting to a place where I was like, no, I should take this money. And then realizing later that was how the universe was sending me help, was through my friend. Similarly, I didn't talk about this before, but with the whole visa situation, again, I was stressed. I didn't know how this was all going to work. And I remember having this thought, which is like, can't I just manifest like a big chunk of money and then boom, get my visa renewed? And then I just tossed that, thought aside because I'm like, when does that ever happen? Like a big chunk of money, enough where I can renew this visa, right? And then 2 days later, I get a text from my dad who basically said to me, what is your bank account number? Because I want to send you some money. And I'm like, why? Immediately I was like, what is this for? Very cautious because I had a story that I'm going to do this on my own. I'm not going to take help from him. But look at how it came through. I didn't do anything. You know what I mean? I just had this random thought and then boom, got this text from my dad. So I called him. I'm like, what's going on? Why do you want to send me some money? Because I wanted to understand why. He's like, oh, I just made a bunch of money off of my one of my investments. So gonna give your sister money. I'm gonna give you some money. I was like, oh, okay, that's great. So he sent me money, and it was funny how I was still really resistant. I was still confused. I still had this belief that I don't want his money and I don't know. It's like I had this weird belief and it was totally warped that said if I take his money, I'm never going to get any more. I was like, that is the most ridiculous thing in the world. The universe is about yes and, right? And when you stop, listen, you have your choices, but for me, I understood it's the universe is going to find a way to send you something where you need to work through whatever fear of separation, fear of trying to prove, all of that is in the ego. And for me, having this come through my dad was about, no, I need to prove to you that I can do it on my own. I don't want your money. And then I had to really kind of work around like, well, why? Like, it's just love. He's just love. He happened to be blessed and he's like, here, have some of this blessing. You're my daughter. I love you. Like, take it, And I was like, okay, now it still wasn't enough to renew my visa. So here's what happened. In my mind, I thought, well, that's okay. It's about half. I'm just going to reapply anyway because you never know. So I did nothing. About a month later, my dad said, I think I'm going to send you some more money before the end of the year. And I was like, you are? He's like, yeah. And again, I had a huge reaction about it. I don't want his money. You see the pattern here? I don't want it. Universe, come on. Can't I just manifest it from something else? Can't you, trying to negotiate? And I was like, God damn it. Like, here I am doing this thing again where I'm judging how the universe is sending me abundance, totally judging it, etc. So I did nothing. But even though I was kind of hoping, like, I wonder if he'll send it to me on this date. So it'll be right before I have to renew and it'll be perfect, right? But I did nothing. And I thought maybe he forgot about it. And then I was still fine with it because, again, all along, I'm like, if I don't end up renewing my visa, it's fine. I don't, I was very, very accepting of that reality or that possibility. 2 days before, 2 days before I was supposed to renew, boom, the money just shows up in my account. I was like, wow. So I renewed the visa, it came back. This is what I'm trying to tell you is how many times this has happened where it's like perfect timing. I didn't say anything to my dad. I didn't tell him about any of like that I needed this money to renew my visa. He knows nothing about this stuff. So it was just so incredible to and validating to witness over and over again how everything really does come through in the exact right time. So, with that, I'm going to end this video. And please comment below and tell me what of the seven most resonate with you. What surprises you about any of this stuff? What do you already know to be true? What are you going to now adopt in your own life? Like, just give me some love with this stuff. And yeah, once again, my friends, experience is our greatest teacher. So go out and experiment with your life. Be fearless. Be fucking fearless. All right. I love you guys so much. Take care, everyone.